Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss about the document and the document types in SAP. So we are going to cover this in detail. So before moving next, I would like to discuss the question which we had in the last session. During closing, which posting periods are open? So recording day-to-day transaction, we actually do the posting in the regular periods, but while we are doing the closing of the fiscal year, so special periods are open due to the auditing posting or doing the adjustment. Special periods are open there. Now these are the topics that we are going to see in our session in detail, like what do we understand by the document and the document type, and then we are going to see about the two important part of the document, and these are like header and the line item. So these are the two important part of any document in SAP. And then we are going to see the standard document types which are available or provided by SAP itself, and we will also see how we can create any custom document type in SAP. So for that we are going to see the path, for example the way, so that we can reach that screen to create document type, and also we are going to see the transaction code. And next we are going to see about the controls in the fields which are available in that screen of the document type. Once we will open that, which controls in the fields are available there, and what is the role of those fields. We will be discussing each one by one. So let's start with our main content. Okay, so document and the document type. So in this session we are going to discuss like document separately and the document type in the second part. So first of all we would see about the document. Let me write it. So document. So what do we understand by the document? So generally we see in the physical world, whatever we are buying from the any vendor or retailer or the wholesaler, most of the time you are getting the receipt. So similarly in SAP also, whatever the transaction we are doing, each transaction is recorded in SAP and it is created as a document. Okay, whether it is a like moving a box in a warehouse, or paying to the vendor, purchasing something from the vendor, or selling to a customer, doing payment to the customer, for each type of business transaction one document is created. So how we can define it, this document? So in simple language we can define it as it is a record of business transaction posting or recording you have done. Okay, and other important point which you have to remember are each business transaction creates at least one document. So these type of questions can also be asked. Each business transaction can minimum create document, so it is one, but it can also create one business transaction can also create multiple documents. For example, we often see if you are having the required configuration there related to like CO, if we are posting any like document related to FI and CO, so posting would be done to both CO and FI. Okay, so at least it will be creating a one document, and it also might create the multiple document given the configuration available in your SAP system. And another example we often see, for example, if we are having the good receipt or the good issue, so in that case also like multiple documents are created related to CO, related to material or the and related to FI. Okay, so this point we can also mention here. One transaction can also create multiple documents. Like for example, I'm giving you in case of good receipt. So we have like generation of material document, or we can say document related to and also the FI documents. So now if we talk about the SAP FI document specifically, so each accounting document each accounting document is uniquely identified by three fields. So how do we differentiate accounting document from one another? Because there might be a same document number, okay, and available in the different fiscal year. So there are three important fields which actually make your document unique, or it acts like a differentiator between the like two accounting document. So these are, first of all, it is document number, and then we have the company code, which we have already configured in our previous session, and we have fiscal year. So these three important field or the combination make any accounting document unique. Okay, so there can be two documents with the same number, but they would be in the different company code and the different fiscal year. And there can also be a scenario you are having same document number, same company code, but the fiscal year would be differentiating. So this is how you can find your document using these fields. So in SAP we also having the T code to check any accounting document, that is FB03. So when you go there, these three fields are mandatory to fill in order to check any accounting document. Now we are going to see about the structure of any accounting or any document in SAP. Or in general also we often see, for example, if any receipt we are getting, so in that receipt we are having at the top the name of the seller or the name of the purchaser and the GST details of the name of the entities, and apart from that we are also having the descriptions of the things which we have purchased, like the quantity, the amount, the taxes. So all those things comes under that particular document itself. Similarly in SAP we have the document made up of two parts. So let me write it. Any document is made up of two parts. Okay, so the one is document header and the next is document line items. Okay, so these two things, document header and the document line items, are part of single document itself. So first of all we will be discussing about the document header. Okay, what do we understand by the document header and what are the things available under the document header in SAP. So what do we understand by the document header? So document header actually contains the information that actually applies to the entire document. So let me write it. It contains information, or we can say the details, that is applicable to the entire document. So if you are purchasing something from the vendor, if the vendor name is written there at the top, so definitely that's a part of header and applicable for all the line items which are available in that entire document. And if the date is written, then date is also general. It is not available against each line item, for example each description of the quantity you have purchased, but only single time you will be able to see that particular dates. So what are the fields we are able to see in SAP related to this document header? So these are, let me write it. Normally it consists of following fields. So what are the fields available in the document header? And one more thing you have to remember here, this document header and the document line item might be differing given the nature of the document you are posting. So for example, if there is a accounting document, then you might have the different fields. If you are having the CO document, then there might be different field in the header and the line item. If it is a material document, so these files might differ from one another given the nature of the business transaction you have posted. So in general, what are the things or what are the fields we are having under the document header? So these are the most important is firstly the document number. Any receipt you have, that receipt is having any unique number. Okay, so that is known as the document number. Apart from that, we have this company code. Okay, and we have document date, on which date we are having the transaction. We have document type, and we have posting date, and we have period. Like in our previous session, we discussed about posting period variant, so the period is also given in the header, and we also have the currency. So these are the some of common fields. Okay, you might also having the other one, as I told you, depending on the transaction we are posting, but these are the some important fields which are available in the document header. Okay, so here one thing we have to understand, there is a document date and the posting date. So in SAP, there might be a scenario, for example, you received any receipt on any particular date, let's suppose on 1st of Jan. So that would be considered as a document date. So on that date, the document got created. But as per your like company policy or the legal requirement, you are posting that document, for example, on the 2nd of Jan or the next month or the end of the month. So that particular date you record as a posting date. So it can be similar to the document date if you are posting on the receivable date of the document or the receipt, or it can also be a different date. So you have to remember the difference between the document and the posting date. Now moving further, we will see about the line items. Document So document line items, I already told you, but let me write what actually it contains. So it actually, in general, it segregates the records of document. Okay, so as I told you, suppose there is a one receipt or the document where you ordered multiple materials, okay, or the multiple quantities of different materials. So there would be a description like the, which is mentioning about the product and the quantity. So in one single document, you might have the multiple product having the varying quantity, okay, like 1 2 3 4. So it actually provide you the records of each particular product you are purchasing. So if you come to the accounting, you will be having the account where it is getting posted, what is the key or the posting key, we can say the debit or the credit, what is the amount, and what is the description, what is the taxation code, the amount, the cost center, the profit center. Okay, so let me mention one another point. It includes granular details. Okay, and these line items also varies with the document type. Okay, so what are the fields it's normally having? So let me mention it. In accounting document, we are mentioning like account number, which is the, let me mention it, mostly GL account. Okay, or it can also be a cost element, but now in S4HANA we are having GL account itself. GL account, and then we have the posting key. So posting key is also known as the debit or credit indicator. Okay, and we have here the amount. We also have tax details, including the tax code, so the tax amount, tax details, cost center or the profit center, or the clearing document. Okay, so there are multiple fields. So these are the some of the common fields which are actually giving you the line item details or the granular details of the particular document you have created or the posted. And apart from these things, I want you to remember some important points related to the this particular document. Okay, so what are these points? Let me mention. You have to remember each each accounting document is having at least two line items. Okay, so you will also would be knowing each accounting document is having two line item of the two transaction. That is why we call it double accounting system. Okay, so for each business transaction you are having the two line items. So one is debit and another is credit. So this point is significant from the accounting point of view. So you have to remember each business transaction in the accounting will create a two line item. One would be debited and another would be credited. So, and the another condition is both line item or sum of multiple line items. If there are multiple line items in accounting document are there, would be 0. Okay, so debit and the credit will always be 0 in any of the accounting document. Another important thing in SAP you have to remember, the maximum line items allowed are, I'm talking about the single accounting document, is 999. Okay, in case we are having more than this particular limit, then in that case we split the document and then we do the posting. So in that scenario what happens, suppose if any of the accounting document is getting created from like SD. Okay, so what happens, due to the number of condition records maintained or due to the posting of related to CO and the FIR coming, so there might be a chances that the count of the line item exceeds the limit of 999. So in that case we get very common or the usual error. Let me mention it in highlighted mode, and that is maximum number of items in FI reached. Okay, so always in this particular scenario we have to ask the user, okay, the end user, to split the document, because if your line item in the FI are exceeding more than 999, it won't be allowing you and would be giving you this particular error. Okay, and other point is we are having separate tables for header information and line item information. Okay, so we are having the separate tables for the header and the line item. So if you see for the accounting, so for the accounting we are having BKPF. So this particular table gives you a header info of accounting document. Okay, and the other is BSEG. This gives you a line item details of accounting document. Similarly we are having, like for the other module, for the SD module, VBAK, which gives you a header detail of the sales order, and then we are having VBAP, it gives you the line item details of sales order. Okay, so I'm just mentioning it, line item details of the sales order. So similarly in MM also we are having different tables. So for the header we are having separate table, for the line item details we are having the separate tables. Now we will discuss about our second topic, which is the document type. So whatever we were discussing above was related to the document. So now we will see about the document type. Okay, so we will see in SAP. Okay, let me write it. In SAP, it is defined as two character alphanumeric key. Okay, so mostly it would be alphabetic only. If you see the KRAC, there's KZ, DR, so there would be mostly the alphabetic document type only, but you can also have the combination of the alpha and the numeric. Okay, so we can define it as a 2-character alphanumeric key or the code. And what it does, it actually differentiates the business transaction. Okay, so basically it tells us about the nature of the kind of the transaction we are posting. And apart from that, what it does, it actually controls the document header. So the fields which are available in the document header, which we are able to see, mostly these are controlled by the document type. So the fields available in the document header might vary from like document to document based on the type. Okay, so this is the another function of this document type. And another important point which you have to remember, it is actually defined at client level. Okay, so what do we mean by defined at the client level? It is applicable for all the company code or valid for all the company code which are available in your that particular SAP system. You can utilize any of the document type in any of the company code because these are defined at the client level. So there is a no restriction regarding any particular entity or the company code. Okay, and other thing is that it actually assigns number, let me write number to document when parking or posting it. So what happens is, whenever we create a number range, these number range are created with respect to the document type, and then the document type you are using while posting, that document type will assign a number to the document which is going to be created while you are parking and posting it. Okay, and other thing, it also controls, okay, it also controls the transaction posting. So what do we mean by that? In the document type configuration itself, you can restrict the certain type of posting in that particular document type. So it will allow only the posting or the business transactions which are allowed in the configuration. So we are going to see when we will see in the practical session in our so we are also going to see this particular part in our next practical session we are going to have on this. And next, some document types are provided by SAP. So these are the standard, but you can also define your custom document type as per the business requirement. Okay, so there are some standard document type which are provided by SAP. Other than that, you can also define your own custom document type, whatever you want, as per the business requirements. Okay, so let me mention some of the very much important or the frequently used document types. Okay, so let me mention it. Standard document types. So there are like multiple document types which are provided by SAP as in standard. So let me write it in a table form. Document and the document type, or we can say the key. Okay, so the document, we will start with the GL part, okay, which is the most common document. Okay, and that is, let me mention here, GL posting. So if you are creating any GL document, so the document type or the document key is SA and AB. Now let me give here in the middle. Okay, so first of all, we would understand what is the difference between SA and AB. So in real time in SAP, you will see against the GL posting, sometime we are able to see the SA and other time we are also able to see the AB, and it will give you the description as general ledger posting or general ledger accounting. So SA mostly gets generated while you are doing manual posting. For example, you posted any document using FB50 or FDAS02. In that scenario, you will able to see the SA document, and generally this particular AB document is visible while you are doing the clearing of any document. So once you do the clearing, the accounting document gets generated, so that would be reflected as AB. So this is also like reflected while you are doing the payment clearing and the other type of clearance. So sometime for the payment also itself, the AB document you would be able to see. Okay, so this is how we are having SA and AB for GL posting. Now next we will see about the customer invoice. Okay, so let's suppose if you are selling something to the customer, in that case there would be a generation of document type or the document key. So most commonly I would say is DR in case of manual, and the other is RV. Okay, so in that case also sometimes against the customer invoice you will see the DR or the RV. So DR is generated while you are doing posting, like manually recording the transaction manually. So to create the customer invoice, we are having the T code FB70. Okay, so using that T code, for example, let me write it FB70. If you are doing the manual posting using FB70, the DR document will get generated. And from where we get this RV document in case of customer invoice, so it will be generated while the customer invoice is getting generated automatically while we are releasing the billing. Okay, so there is two cases. One is posting or recording customer invoice directly, but in case if your customer invoice is coming as a FI document following the OTC cycle. OTC cycle means creation of the sales order, then the delivery, then the post code issue and the billing. And after billing, once you release that billing into accounting, so the customer invoice gets automatically generated. Okay, and in that scenario, the customer invoice document type would be RV. So it is very much significant to know what is the difference between DR and the RV, because both are customer invoice. Okay, so next is customer payment. So in case of manual payment, you are doing, for example, the manual payment, then the key or the document type would be DZ. Okay. Now next is vendor invoice. So for the vendor invoice also we are having the two document type. The one is KR and another is RE. Okay, so we know the vendor invoice we can post manually using the T code FB60. Okay, so GLV, so we can post it using FB50. Let me also mention this FB50. Okay, so vendor invoice you can create using this FB60 T code while you are creating vendor invoice manually in the system. But similarly, as we had in the customer invoice while it was flowing from the billing, similarly the vendor invoice can be created using this P2P cycle, means procured to pay, which involves creation of the purchase order, then the good receipt, then the invoice receipt. So in that scenario, the vendor invoice gets automatically generated while you do the invoice receipt using the T code MIRO. There is a T code MIRO. While you do the MIRO on the basis of the the purchase order and the good receipt, this particular vendor invoice will get generated with the document type RE. So using manual T code, the KR would be generated. Using MIRO, using the P2P cycle, the RE would be generated. So you have to keep this point in your mind as well. Okay. So next is we are also having the credit part. For example, if you sold something to the customer, but due to some defect it got returned to you, and there might also be a scenario while you purchased something from the vendor, but due to defect or any problem, or the, for example, the kind of discount you are getting, there would be a generation of the credit note in both the scenario. So one is customer credit memo, we call it, well also we can say credit note, and then next is vendor credit memo. So for these also we are having the document type. For customer we have DG, and for vendor credit memo we are having the KG. Okay, and other two important document I'm mentioning here. So there are number of the accounting document which are standard, but these are commonly used document type you will encounter in the system while you are working on a real-time project. Okay, so another is good receipt, and next is good issued. So these are majorly like related to the MM and the PP modules. Okay, but these are integrated with the FI part also, and this is also, for example, good issue is related to SD part. So these are integrated or the interrelated with each other. So we should know the document type of these as well. Okay, so for a good received, the document generated is WE, and the document generated for the good issue is WL. Okay, let me put it in center and put the border. Okay, so these are the document and these are the document key or the document type which are generated. Okay, fine. Now moving next, we will see the how we can do the configuration. Okay, so there is a path and there is also a T code. So we already know that we start with the SPRO and then reference IMG, and then we have financial accounting, and then we have the financial accounting global settings, and next we have document, and next we have to click on the document types, and then we click on the define document types. Okay, so remember this point where it has gone. Okay, so here for example we have to give the T code SPRO, then we have to click on reference IMG, and then we have to go to financial accounting, and then financial accounting global settings. Under that we have to click on document, then the document type, and there we will be having the option define document types. Okay, so let me write a T code also. So we already know what the T code is. Transaction code to define it is OBA7. Okay, so you have to remember this particular part. Okay, so now one important part is important fields for control in document type screen. So let me mention one by one. So what are the important fields or controls in the document type screen? So we will discuss each of these in detail. Okay, so at the top you would be able to see the document type. We already know the two character key, which is the document type you can give. And the next header or the subheader you will be finding there is properties. Okay, so under those properties we are having like number range, and then we have the reverse document type, and then we have the authorization group. So these three fields would be available under the properties. So now coming to the first one, the number range. So number range can be defined using this screen. Okay, and apart from that you can also create a number range using the different particular path and using the T code FBN1. So you have the option to create a number range. Number range is actually a lower and the upper limit of the numbers which can be assigned to a particular document type. And next we have the reverse document type. So for example, you posted the essay document. Now you want to reverse that document due to some mistake. Now you can define whether it should be essay only or it should be another document like AB or any other document type. So you can define here the reverse document type which you are going to have in your document in case of reversal. And the next is authorization group. So you can also restrict the modification of any document type or the modification of the controls or the fields of any document type. You can restrict this authority to group of individual. So those individual can come up under any authorization group, and that group you can mention against this particular field. And the next important, I would say, the subheader is account types allowed. So I told you while I was mentioning about the document types, this is where it actually controls the postings, like the postings which are allowed against any particular document type. So you are here, you have the option like asset, and then we have the customer, we have the vendor or the supplier, and then we have the material, GL account, and we have the secondary we have the secondary we have the secondary costs. So these 6 particular account type you would be able to see in that particular screen. So here you have to just check it, okay, or select it. So if you define any document type, for example, if you define document type as KR, so KR actually should allow ideally the vendor or the supplier postings. You can click, like you can check this, or you can also like check material if somewhere it is related to the vendor or the vendor invoice or the vendor posting. And if you are having like SA, so under SA if you want the asset posting, GL posting, so you can just have to select it, okay. So in that case only it will allow the transaction to that particular account type. Otherwise it will not allow you to post such postings, okay. So this is how it controls the account types of the nature of the posting which are allowed against any particular document type, okay. Now one important part is control data. So these are the actually indicators which you are able to select or choose, okay. So you also have to remember these particular controls. These are of very much significance, okay. So we have net document type, and then we have customer and vendor check, and we also have the negative postings permitted, we have intercompany, and finally we have enter trading partner. Okay, so I will explain these one by one. Try to remember this because it will be very much helpful. So what do we understand by the net document type? So what happens is, for example, you purchased something from the vendor, okay, and in that vendor there are some discounts which have been given by the user, and you want those discount to be deducted from the invoice in time of posting itself. Okay, so in that case you have to check this option against that particular document type. And another thing you have to remember is this net document type is only applicable in case of vendor invoice, not in the customer invoice, or we can say the account receivable. So how the discount gets determined? So it is determined with the help of payment terms. Okay, so with the help of payment terms, system is able to determine what discount particular uh, particular like client has been given. On that basis, the net amount after deducting the discount from the gross amount, so on that amount the invoice gets posted. Okay, if you keep it unchecked, then the entire amount will get posted, and at the time of like payment, that particular invoice would be posted if the deduction is there. But if you check this at the time of posting of that invoice in the system itself, it will only record the net amount post deduction. And next comes the vendor and customer check. And so this is also one of the important like indicator or the control. For example, you created any manual document type. Okay, let's suppose you created JA document type, and you want functionality in SAP. Whenever I give this JA, so it should only allow the posting related to one particular vendor or the customer in that concerned single document. Okay, so what do I mean by this? For example, you are posting any accounting entry related to vendor. Okay, so what happens normally, you can have the multiple vendor in the single document. Okay, but if you check this customer and vendor check, then there would only be a single vendor in the line item. So there can be multiple line item, but would be with single vendor. Okay, not more than the single vendor. Similar is applicable for the customer as well. So if you want that in particular single document one customer should be there, so in that scenario also you can check this option and use this particular document type whatever you are defining. For example, J we are defining, so it will allow the posting only against that single customer only. Okay, so this is how we can utilize this particular indicator or the control. Next we are having the negative posting permitted. So what is the use of this particular control? So often we see, for example, we posted any document and in that document you committed some mistake. Now what we do generally, we actually reverse that whole document and the entries are offsetted or the reversed. But what happens is, for example, there were two line item that got posted wrongly. Now you reverse that, there would be another two line item generated against particular account. So in that case, for example, against each account you are having the two entries now. Total 4 entries we are having. But using this negative posting permitted functionality against the document type, you can simply remove the wrong entry. Okay, so let's suppose you purchased something like related to, for example, raw material, but you posted that as a rent expenses. Okay, so rent expenses would be like debited and your vendor would be credited. So what happens now, you reversed it, so reverse entry would be generated, like your expenses would be credited and the vendor would be debited. So you are having 4 entries and the impact is null. But now you don't want that reversal, you want to do the negative posting. So negative posting can be done using manual T code like F-02. So what happens in that case, you can simply, for example, you posted amount which got debited related to the rent expenses. In that case, while you are posting again the entry, you can put negative amount. Okay, the amount which you posted for the rent expenses, you can post the same amount giving the negative balance of that while posting this negative posting. And then rent expenses, you can give like debit entry of that amount under the account related to your raw material. So in that case, what it will do, it won't be having any impact on the vendor, because you got, for example, we are assuming a situation where we are taking both the services, like this rent services and also the raw material from the same vendor. So what it will do, it will nullify your this office expenses, okay, and uh, it will nullify the rent expenses, and it will generate a correct entry related to the raw material without impacting the vendor. Okay, so next is intercompany control. So where do we use it? Actually, this particular check is used when there are multiple trading partners are involved. Okay, so mostly in the document type like ZP, while you are running the automatic payment program, so multiple trading partner in case of intercompany transaction might be involved there, and in that case it will populate the trading partner, like multiple trading partner. Okay, if you don't check this, so there should only be single trading partner in all the document which are getting generated. So this is how this functionality is utilized. And the next is enter trading partner. So this trading partner is already available in the master data. Okay, so from that master data it is generally picked up and is able to populate in the accounting document. But if you don't want that to be picked from the master data, you can enable the manual posting of the trading partner. So manually you can give the trading partner while posting any document. Okay, so this functionality is used in that way. Now other important subheader there you will be finding is default values. So under the default values, we are having the exchange rate. Okay, so here you can define against any particular document always what should be the exchange rate. So though you can give it manually also, but you can default it giving here only. So majorly used these exchange rates are like M, which is the standard average rate. Okay, we are having the G, which is bank buying rate, and we are also having the B. There are multiple, but these are the commonly or the widely used in SAP, which is the, for example, B is the bank selling rate. So in case you are doing the transaction which involves the foreign vendor or the customer, so in that case you would be exchanging your money, okay, using local currency. So in that case there should be some exchange rate maintained. So these are the rates, like there's a standard rate, bank buying rate, bank selling rate. So ultimately we do the transaction with our central bank, okay, which actually manages the exchange rate. So this is how you can automatically populate these exchange rate automatically if particular document type is getting posted. Okay, and remember one more point, the table to check the document type, all the document type which are defined in the system is T003. So you can use this particular table in SAP to check all the document type which are defined in the system and all the fields or the configuration done against that particular document type in this table. Okay, you can find a list of table. Now coming to our questions section, which is the significant part. Okay, so the first question is, can there be posting without document definition in the system? So this is the first point we discussed when we started this session. So the answer would be directly no. It is compulsory and mandatory to define a document type to do any nature of posting or doing the transaction. Now the second question is, which I want to give the answer in the comment section, is document type is of how much length. Okay, so when we started the explanation of the document type, we mentioned the first point. Okay, so that would be the answer. I would be waiting to give the answer in the comment section. If you are having any query apart from like this giving the answer, you can just ping me in the comment section. I will review and try to answer that. Okay, thank you. That's all for today. We will meet in our next session.